listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hola y bienvenidos al show. Este es On Point con Víctor. Estás escuchando America's Web Radio. Feliz 5 de Mayo. All right, sorry there, folks. Somebody pressed 2 for Spanish. I don't know which one of the...
Well, my question is, how long do you have to practice to get that out?
Yeah, right. I probably should have practiced. Oh, sorry, folks. Every now and then, these guys over here, they press 2 for Spanish, and they don't tell me, and then you get some of that. No, folks, you know, today is Cinco de Mayo, and who would have thought that we would have had Cinco de Mayo and at the same time be suffering from a virus that they call the coronavirus? I mean, you just can't make this kind of stuff up. This is the stuff of movies. So we've arrived, or we've made it to Cinco de Mayo, and we're suffering from corona. I mean,
I've been there many times.
Right. So those of you out there who who in the past Cinco de Mayos have gotten maybe a little too much corona of the liquid variety, now we have to worry about corona, the viral variety. So we just can't win. Are we sure that we want to continue to celebrate Mexican holidays? Now I can say that, folks, because I have Mexican heritage. Because, you know, there are probably some liberals out there right now in media watch groups going, "Did you hear what Victor just said? He just did blasphemy to all the Mexicans." So, oh, people, we need a sense of humor. Even in times of crisis, you cannot lose your sense of humor. I mean, trust me on this, folks. Your life...
Did you read the one I put out on Facebook yesterday or day before?
No, I think I missed that one.
When the going gets tough, the Americans get going.
Oh, well, see, and that's exactly the attitude that we need to have. You know, we really do. We need to get rid of this attitude of defeatism, the attitude of negativism, and just pessimism. You know, all of those things are easy, but they're bad. I mean, they're just bad for you. So I like that, David. You know, when the towing gets tough, when the towing gets tough, get a Ford and Ford F-150. But when the going gets tough, Americans get going, and that's the way it should be. And imagine if we came together as Americans against this virus. Imagine if we didn't have a political party that used this virus and continually are using this virus to gain power, to enact tyranny, to gain control. You would think that today's Democrat Party would really put people first, but I think I'm asking too much.
Another one that I put out was, "Together we stand, divided we won't."
Yeah.
And we're still Americans, and we're, you know, Pelosi, did you hear what that stupid broad said the other night during
I'm afraid not.
President Trump's interview, his press conference thing with Brett Baer and Martha McCallum? She had the audacity to say, How could they stoop so low as to pick the Lincoln Memorial to do the interview? And yet, you know, here are two brilliant men that have gone through the biggest crisis of our country ever. And quite frankly, like I told you a few minutes ago, I was personally very impressed with Trump. And as I was sitting at home by myself, watching it and could be very attuned to almost every word, I kept sitting there thinking, oh my God, if it hadn't have been Trump. You know, if we had some other president, and you know me that I have my beliefs, and I'm proud to say I'm a Christian and don't make any bones about it, but he is the right man at the right time, in my opinion. And I think there's a plan, and we're going through that plan right now. I'm not going to get up on I'm not going to get in my pulpit and start preaching.
Give me back my soapbox.
Yeah, give you back. I thought you were sitting on it. Oh, no, you're not. You lost it.
If the IT guy had his way, I'd be sitting on telephone books right now.
And slipping off, probably. But anyway, Trump did very well, I thought. And for them to come out and criticize the location of where he was doing it,
well,
I'm not sure how much lower the Democrats can go.
Oh, don't ask that question because they can dig.
Well, I think there are already moles.
Well, there you go. Well, there are moles in the government. I can tell you why real quick. I can tell you why Pelosi and the Democrats were angry that they stood in front of the Lincoln Memorial. They do not want they're forced. The media is forced to cover things like that, so they had to cover some of Trump's town hall, and so which means they had to cover him and that he was sitting in front of the Lincoln Memorial, which might remind some people that Lincoln was a Republican. And that Lincoln's the one that freed slaves, and that it was the Republican Party. I could go on the whole history and give a history lesson here, but that's one of the reasons. The Democrats do not want an informed populace, and they really don't want a populace that will go back and teach themselves true, proper history.
Tomorrow we have a show on called Agent in Charge, Scott Bostic, and he was many years. First with the FBI and then with the Homeland Security and so forth. He'll tell you his whole history. But tomorrow, this is America's Web Radio's version of, and Scott wanted to do it, and so there could be some bombs going off over there or in the building or someplace. But anyway,
we'll call them bombshells.
Bombshell. But anyway,
not of the blonde variety.
He's He's going to be talking about the bad side of the FBI and Mueller and all of the stuff.
Page,
whatever,
Stroke,
FBI director.
McCabe. Oh, yeah, I could,
And it's going to be quite interesting because he knows the inside. And in fact, I was talking to Sandy last night and asked him, how do you get a bad apple like that in? How do you get, what was the guy's name that was...
Well, you had Comey, you had McCabe, you had Page, you had Stroke. I mean, these are the top echelon of the FBI that's really given a bad name to the 99% of the FBI who's actually working.
And he and I didn't argue, but we got in a discussion, and we will get in the discussion tomorrow. As a matter of fact, when he's on the air, and it's Agent in Charge, but. I asked Scott, and at first he said no, and then he said, well, that's, you got to look at it, and he's going to be looking at, he still has a lot of friends in different agencies, federal agencies, that he's going to be talking to and has been talking to. He won't necessarily mention their names, but he's going to give you some information.
Well, that'd be good. Maybe he can bring some on.
But, as I mentioned to him, I said, nobody... To my knowledge, none of the media has brought this up, but the fact is, and he said, he agreed that fact is there had to be money under the table somewhere. A guy's not going to risk his 20 years, 30 years, 40 years in the federal government for free. And just to say, I hate Trump.
You got to wonder. Well, the good news is there's a full-on investigation going on. Attorney General Barr and the appointed Attorney General from Connecticut, his name is escaping me right now. They are full steam ahead going on with the investigation. And with the news that's come out about Flynn, about what they did and setting up and framing Flynn.
Actually, that's the story we're going to be covering.
That'll be perfect. So, well, that's good because I didn't really want to get to that today. So, folks, now, not that I won't get to the Flynn. That's probably going to be next week. But at least you can tune into Agent in Charge and hear what will be coming up future on Point with Victor as well.
I have never heard, and Sandy and I go back a ways, I've never heard him he just he was a federal agent. He doesn't get upset,
Yeah.
that's they're trained.
Well,
but he is upset with.
He should be. Any run of the mill, any agent of the FBI, past, present, should be upset with what the upper echelon has done. Comey, McCabe, Stroke, and Page single-handedly had taken the FBI and really put it through the ringer. And it's a sad day. This is a premier law enforcement agency of the United States, and never, ever should it be turned on the innocent people or citizens, especially of the United States. And that's what they did. And these few men, McCabe, Comey, there's a list of them I could go over, but it's awful what they did, and it's just a bad taste. But we'll definitely get to that. I'm going to have a show probably next week where I'm going to talk a little bit about that, about what they did.
Actually, and I was sort of amazed that Sandy was aware, but not aware, and certainly not of some of the details that I pulled up on him. But as you and I, as I grew up, you grew up, you put the FBI up on a level that, almost one of these too good to be trues.
Absolutely, it's like a comic book.
It was.
Heroes.
Hoover was no saint.
No, not at all.
Some of the shenanigans that he pulled.
Yeah.
And he hated JFK as much as obviously these people hate Trump.
Yeah.
And he had, he didn't mind calling Kennedy up and saying, if you do that, this picture that I got, I'll release it.
Oh yeah, he abused it pretty bad, and probably not since the Hoover administration has the FBI been so abused as it has been when at the tail end of the Obama years, because all this was going on at the last year of Obama, and it's terrible, terrible. But again, we'll go over some of that definitely in next week's show, because what they did to Michael Flynn was awful. What they've done to the FBI is awful. Now, the FBI will survive. Now, I will say this, and I'm going to get into this next week. The current FBI director, whose name is going to escape me, but he needs to go, and I'll go ahead and go on record calling for the dismissal of the current FBI director. I can't wait till Trump lets him go and gives him the phone call and says, "You're fired," because it needs to happen. So, all right, folks, let me get back into to what's on tap for today. I started the show with a little Spanish, because today is Cinco de Mayo, and it is kind of crazy that here we are with Cinco de Mayo, and we're suffering from a pandemic named after Corona. Well, let me just say named Corona. It's not really named after the beer. But, folks, you think I'm joking a little bit about this, but there are people out there on the left persuasion that didn't want to buy Corona beer because they were afraid of getting the coronavirus through drinking Corona beer. Like I said before, you just can't make this stuff up. So, but look, folks, on the serious side here, there are lots and lots of restaurants. Wherever you live, whatever community you're in, you probably know well your local Mexican restaurant. There may be one or two maybe that you frequent or used to frequent before this virus hit. If you get a chance, do a favor today, not just for me, do it for your community. Go out maybe this evening, pick up some food from your local restaurant that you visit. Wherever you would normally celebrate Cinco de Mayo, maybe swing by and give them a little business. Pick up some to-go, maybe pick up a Corona to go. I promise you, you will not get coronavirus from drinking a Corona beer. Now, if you don't drink beer, like myself, I don't drink beer, have yourself a Mountain Dew and just pretend it's a Corona. That's what I do. When my friends drink beer, I drink Mountain Dew. So, but go out and support, give a little support to those restaurants that you would normally be celebrating this day, and maybe help them out, because, there's nothing wrong with helping your community. And again, there's so many restaurants are suffering right now, especially if you happen to be living in a blue state. Look, if you can get to a Mexican restaurant in your community without being arrested, then please do it. I know those of you in Chicago, those of you in Michigan, those of you in New York, those of you in Maine, those of you in New Jersey, your governor's trying to arrest you for leaving your house. So if you can do it safely and you can evade the government, then please help out your local business, your local restaurant, where you normally would be celebrating Cinco de Mayo. All right, and I'm being serious about that, folks. We've got some major. Let's put it this way: we have governors in blue states, and those of you who don't know what I'm referring to Democrats, who are have gone full blown tyrannical. They're turning into leaders of tyranny, and it's an awful thing to see what's going on right now. But that's what's happening, folks. So, all right, let me do this. You are listening to America's Web Radio. This is On Point with Victor, and I am Victor Armendariz. So I want to move on to some topics. Let's just put it, the On Point with Victor topic rundown, and I've had, it's no surprise, many of you have picked up on this, that I have been kind of quiet about the Joe Biden Tara Reade scandal, call it sexual scandal, whatever you want to call it. I've been a little quiet about it. And folks, I've done that for a reason. I didn't want to jump on board. I wanted more facts to come out. I wanted to see where this story was going. I've known about this story a little bit, but now it's humorous to watch it hit the airways. And you've got to ask yourself. Now, again, this is On Point with Victor. This is the show of common sense and logic. So you're not going to get emotional arguments from me. You're going to get logical arguments from me. You're going to get common sense from me. I will put my common sense up against your academic pedigree any time you want. I will bring you on this show, and you can bring your academic pedigree, and you can try and combat my logic and common sense. We can do that all day long. And again, I won't be mad. I'll just be right. So look. So I didn't say a whole lot about this Biden Tara Reade thing because I found it funny that it's taken this long for this to come out, and you got to ask yourself, why is it suddenly coming out? So let's go ahead and go to break. We're a little late. Let's take our break, and when we come back, I'm going to get into this Biden Tara Reade. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Want to give your family or loved one the perfect gift? Then go online and check out the TornadoBodyDryer.com. I love mine and the warm heat air massage it gives me after my shower. The Tornado Body Dryer is super. You'll love it, and you'll love having one in your shower.
My name is Kyle Hayes, a motorsports student at Alfred State College. Every year, Alfred State students compete in the Great Race, which is a cross-country time endurance rally for vintage vehicles. As you can imagine, it's pretty costly. I'm asking for your help. Your donation can make it possible for these students to live their passion and promote the vintage automobile industry. Please visit our site at give.alfredstate.edu and search Great Race to learn more and help us reach our goal. Thank you.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Okay, folks, we are back. You're listening to America's Web Radio. I am Victor Armendariz. This is On Point with Victor. Hey, folks, just to let you know, today you're going to get a special treat because when this show ends at 3, I am actually going to guest host Locked and Loaded, the gun show, from 3 to 4. So you're going to get a whole nother hour of me today. I know, you're so excited. Look, folks. When we went to break, we're talking about Biden Tara Reade. Okay, look, you got to ask yourself, Biden, he was so supposedly vetted in 2008 when Obama picked him to be vice president, and this story didn't come out. And then there we were in 2012. Biden, Obama, Biden. If you listen to Biden, it's the Biden-Obama administration. Back in 2012, and again, this show. Miraculously, this story miraculously didn't really come up. But here we are. Fast forward now to 2020, and we are months away from an election. And Biden has, with the help of the Wuhan Corona Chinese virus, with the help of the establishment DNC, Biden has pretty much secured the nomination. So as it stands right now, Joe Biden is going to be the Democrat nominee for president. He's going to face Donald Trump. And I tell you, if you think the Democrats are happy with this, well, you got another thing coming, because you're the things that are going to unfold in the next few months. Again, sit back. It's going to be enjoyable to watch. And you can say you heard it here first on Point with Victor. Because, months and months and months ago, I was telling you that Biden wasn't going to be the guy. Well, folks, I'm going to tell you today, I still don't think Biden is going to be the guy. I know he pretty much has the nomination wrapped up. And again, you can see why. I mean, the virus has helped him. The Democrat establishment, they really came in to rescue. The black vote in South Carolina came into the rescue. But now you've got states like New York and other states that are shutting down their primaries. Because let me tell you why. They don't want Socialist Sanders to continue to gain electoral votes. Because if Socialist Sanders continues, if they kept having the primaries and Sanders kept getting delegates, let me put it that way, if he kept getting delegates, then he goes into the convention, and when Biden waffles, Sanders is going to be there to take his spot. Well, the Democrats do not want Socialist Sanders to be the second guy. They want to be able to put someone that they're picked, and right now they're trying to make it Cuomo. And I'm telling you guys, a lot of you may be sitting out there going, Victor, what are you talking about? Victor, you're crazy. Look, I'm just saying. I'm not telling you to go put money down in Vegas on what I'm saying, but I am telling you to pay attention to what I'm saying, because I am telling you something is going to happen in the next few months. And I don't think Biden's going to be the guy. I think they're going to want to remove him. And it's going to be Cuomo, I think, that they try and push through. It won't be Socialist Sanders. You Bernie bros out there, if you haven't figured out yet that the Democrat Party wants no part of you and wants no part of Bernie Sanders, then you really need to wake up. If you're a Bernie bro or you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, Bernie's getting screwed again. He is getting hosed by the Democrat National Party, and it's quite fun to watch, because I wouldn't vote for the guy if he put a gun to my head. But I do enjoy watching what the Democrats will do to their own. And then I'm amazed at how many Democrats will just sit by and go, oh, nothing to see here. So it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. But look, what's happening now? You look here where we are here. We're a few months now away from the election. You've got Biden, who's pretty much, like I said, he's technically, by de facto, he's the nominee. But now you've got this story catching traction all of a sudden, which is the Terry Reid story. Now, folks, look, here's another question you've got to ask yourself. If you were after Kavanaugh, if you were in the camp of guilty until proven innocent, if that was your method, that was your bar, when Kavanaugh was being investigated, when Kavanaugh was being torched, when he was being absolutely dragged through the mud, when that was happening to Kavanaugh, and if you were on the side of, well, he's guilty until proven innocent, because you've changed the whole foundation of our jurisprudence, which is innocent until proven guilty. You know, by the United States Constitution, by being a citizen of this country, you are afforded the right of innocence until proven guilty. But you go backward. You know, I'm old enough to remember when Kavanaugh, just a few short months ago, was nominated and going through the Senate approval. All hell broke loose. Every Democrat, and all you Democrat supporters, or most of you, and all the lamestream media were saying, we must believe her. We must believe Blasey Ford, for making all these accusations. Not that we have to presume innocence and have an investigation. Oh, no. According to the Democrat out in Hawaii, you were supposed to, especially if you were a man, you were supposed to sit down and shut up. You were supposed to just believe her. Well, folks, where is that standard now? That standard wasn't set forth by me. That standard wasn't set forth by the United States Constitution. That standard wasn't put forth by the hundreds of years of jurisprudence. No. That standard was put forth by the Democrat Party, by the lamestream media, and by you Democrat sycophants out there. The standard of we must believe her and assume guilt instead of assume innocence. That's the standard you guys set. So if you were out there calling for Kavanaugh's head, you need to look in the mirror today and ask yourself, am I going to hold Joe Biden to the same standards? Now, I am not going to go back and rehash the lack of evidence that was in the accusations against Kavanaugh. There was no corroborating witnesses. Blasey Ford named 4 people who she said could corroborate her story. All 4 of them said, no, I cannot. And they couldn't. They said, no, I'm not going to lie. And they said, I don't remember. None of these things happened that I remember, and I don't remember it that way. They some form or fashion, they refuted the accusations that Blasey Ford was making. So there was 0 corroborating evidence in the Kavanaugh case. I'm not even going to go over the other ones because those were so ridiculous. The other accusations were so ridiculous, and they were shot down before they even made it to the media. So this is where we are today. So Joe Biden, here we are. He's being accused by Tara Reade and folks, look, it is not just sexual assault. Now, I have young listeners that listen to this show, so I am not going to go into too much graphic of what Biden did or what he's accused of doing. I'm sorry, because I still presume innocent until proven guilty. So I'm not going to put Biden on trial here and make my decision. But what I am going to tell you is you've got to hold him to the same standard. If you think, you on the left, you guys think you have the high moral ground on every issue, well, then you've got to hold Biden to the same standard you held Kavanaugh to. So you must believe Tara Reade. You must believe her. And investigations must happen into this. Because if you're going to, like I said, the same standard must apply here. And what Biden is accused of, I mean, folks, look, I'm not going to go into much detail, but basically this goes beyond sexual assault. He was accused of pushing her up against the wall, holding her there, and putting his hand under the dress, and I'm not going to tell you the rest. You can look it up for yourself. But it goes beyond simple assault. That is a huge accusation. And if you listen to the Democrat model, the seriousness of the charge dictates investigation, the need of investigation. So I'm only using the Democrat standard here. Okay, folks, look, I know we got a lot to get to today, so let's take the next break. This is going to be a short break. We will be right back. You're listening to America's Web Radio. This is On Point with Victor.
Quick Steaks, that's Quick Steaks, are not just for surveyors. They are great for family and community gardens. Go online to www.quickstake.com or contact your local land surveying supply dealer and get you a box of Quick Steaks. You'll love them every year when you plant your garden. Again, that's Quick Steaks, Quick Steaks, the truly preferred way to stake and identify what's in your garden now.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Just want to remind everybody, tomorrow is Agent in Charge, and he's going to be exposing the FBI, what they did wrong and what they've done wrong. And I think you'll find it one of the most interesting programs you've ever listened to on America's Web Radio. And then followed on Thursday at 10:10 in the morning will be Dr. Nicole Saphier from, she's a Fox and Friends contributor, Fox News contributor, as a matter of fact. And she'll be on, and she'll be following the Doctor's Lounge at 8, and then our $1 billion balls at 9, and then Nicole will be on at 10 o'clock. And I've got to throw this out. Nicole has just been sweetest lady I think I've ever met. She's just been wonderful when I've called her and talked to her and talking about doing the show. And we're going to be talking about her new book, which is Make America Healthy Again. And it just came out, and buy a copy of it. Show her that you support her. I also want to throw out one other thing. I had a situation this past Friday night that it required a wellness check, and it required calling the Dawson County Sheriff's Department. And as it turned out, the sheriff himself went out. And they were just absolutely fantastic. And I want to tip my hat and salute the Dawson County, Georgia Sheriff's Department. They were just super, and my family appreciates it, and they are first responders of the best kind going. And we have a lot of them in the United States, and we all need to honor them, buy them a lunch, buy them a taco tonight, whatever. But anyway, they are super. So, with that being said, we'll get back to On Point with Victor in just a moment.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back, folks. Okay, look, let's let me get back into this a little bit. So you've got the Biden Tara Reade. The biggest difference with these accusations against Biden is there are corroborating witnesses. My last count, there were 5 corroborating witnesses to the story. Now, I am not saying that somebody witnessed the act. What I am saying is they witnessed this story. David.
Yeah, we've had several of our doctors on, 2 psychiatrists and either 1 or 2 psychologists that work with Alzheimer's and dementia and so forth, and they have all concurred that there is no doubt that Biden has dementia. So, and almost, if not Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, one of the prime things about Alzheimer's is you can't remember what you're running for, or where you are, for that matter, but you can remember 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I believe every word that Biden's saying. You know, he was there. He knows. And,
he was there.
He was there. And I, you just got to believe him, because if he really has Alzheimer's,
Well, apparently the new Me Too movement is, instead of believe her, it's believe him. And I guess they knew it's no longer the I'm with her, it's going to be I'm with him. I can see the stickers coming now. But folks, look, Biden, this is going to be a problem for Biden, I'm telling you. There are corroborating witnesses. And what I'm saying about the corroborating witnesses is there are people who witnessed that Tara Reade told them the story. They know that she was telling this story that hey, something happened to me. So there's corroborating witnesses to this. And then there's also a huge piece of evidence, which is the fact that her mother, Tara Reade's mother, who is not with us any longer. So this is almost like a voice from the dead. There is a video out there of the Larry King used to have a show. If you don't know, look him up. Larry King, guy was famous. I mean, had a show. I guess it was kind of a political opinion show that he had for years. Well, Tara Reade's mother called, and it was on the air live on TV. There's a video out there, and her mother asked Larry King, "What can I do? What can my daughter do? My daughter just left D.C. My daughter was working for a predominant senator, and she was, abused, had a problem, and no one will listen to her. She made a complaint. She did this. She did all these things, and no one will listen. What can she do?" That was the question of Tara Reade's mother to Larry King. That is documented. So that is corroborating evidence, folks. And then you've got the 5 corroborating witnesses saying, yes, Tara Reade complained to me about what Biden did to her. So this was out there back then. Okay, folks? There's probably a record of it. Now, here's the problem, folks. When Biden went on TV the other day and he said, oh, please go to the archives. I want the archives to release papers. Look, I hate to tell you, and I hate to be this kind of a cynical person, but we have history and we have precedents. If you go back, well, let me tell you what I assume. I assume Biden knew that somebody already went to the archives, and if there were any paper, anything on Tara Reade, it was probably taken and destroyed. And the reason I can say that is because we have precedents of that. If you want to look up the name Sandy Berger and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, Sandy Berger, back during the Clinton administration, went to the National Archives, pulled out original documents, stuffed them in his pants, and tried to leave with them. Now, this guy was caught, but never prosecuted. He was caught destroying original documents from the National Archives that were original documents dealing with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And he went in there and destroyed them. And he was caught, never prosecuted, because the Republicans had no backbone back then, and they still don't. Let's say most of them don't have a backbone now. The establishment will swim with the establishment. And I hate to say it, but the bureaucracy, the deep state, the career politicians, whatever you want to call them, the establishments on both sides, they will swim together in that swamp. And they'll get each other's back. How else can you explain the fact that Ted Kennedy was able to kill a woman and get away with it? Folks, it's awful, the history that it is politicians. But look, let's stay on point here with Biden. So you've got corroborating witnesses. So there's enough evidence here for an investigation to take place. The investigation that never took place before, because Washington's so good at covering themselves up. Look, folks, we're talking about politicians in Washington that had a slush fund set aside of your taxpayer dollars to pay off people who were sexually abused, or people who were accusing politicians of sexual abuse or some type of abuse, verbal, whatever. There was a slush fund of taxpayer dollars that these establishment politicians used to pay off people with. It's pretty disgusting. So now here we are. And you got to ask yourself, why is this story coming out now about Biden and Tara Reade? Why is Tara Reade suddenly, why is the media suddenly interested? Well, I'll tell you, folks, there is a part of the Democrat Party and the Democrat National Committee that do not want Biden to go into the 2020 election. So they're going to use this investigation, or at least they're going to agree to an investigation, because they know this is probably going to be the end of Biden. Now, look, it is clear, as David was mentioning before, that Biden is on a mental decline. Look, I don't take joy in saying this, but if you are a person of common sense and a person of logic, it is not hard to notice that Biden is on a mental decline. It's awful to watch, and it's sad to see. But the bigger sadness is his family members and the people in the bureaucracy that are holding him up and allowing him to submit himself to this kind of downfall in front of the American people. I mean, it really is sad. And again, if you're a Democrat supporter, you've really got to ask yourself, if you are the party of caring, you're the party of compassion, folks, what they're doing to Joe Biden is not compassion. Allowing this man to go on TV and trying to hide him and then have him come out with a scripted answer here and there so that we can't see his decline or minimize the visual of his mental state in decline. It's pretty sad what they're doing to him. But
COVID-19?
Yeah, right. But what we have going on here with this Tara Reade story is there is real evidence here. There's a real problem here for Joe Biden, and there's a real investigation that needs to happen. And it doesn't need to be an investigation by the DNC. You know, it's funny how the New York Times, they wanted the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the local police. They wanted everybody to investigate Kavanaugh. But what do they say about Biden? They want the DNC, the Democrat National Establishment Committee. They want them to investigate Biden. That's just a joke, folks. It's an absolute joke. But we need an independent investigation. And again, if you put your standard up here, you created that standard for Kavanaugh, then that standard must be the same one used for Biden. I'm sorry, Democrats, you did this. You're the ones who set the standard against Kavanaugh, and that's the standard that needs to be used against Biden. So you need to believe Tara. You need to believe her, as the representative from Hawaii will say. I believe her. You must believe her. If you don't believe her, you must sit down and shut up. That's what the representative said from Hawaii. So that standard must follow Biden. So you must believe Tara Reade, and there must be an investigation. So I'm look, folks, what's good for the gander is good for the goose. At least I think that's how that saying goes. But that's got to be done. We've got to do the investigation. We've got to make sure that look, you got to follow the evidence. And if there is sufficient evidence here, then Biden's going to have to step down, which I believe is what the goal of some Democrats are, folks. Look, if you think the Democrats want to go into 2020 with Biden, then you're kidding yourself. Biden cannot, nor does he have the capacity to run for the office or hold the office of the presidency. And I'm sorry, that's just a fact. Yeah, just watch him. He doesn't remember where he was yesterday, let alone remember where he is in the moment. It's just, again, it's sad to see, and I hate what they're doing to him. I really do. Because whether you agree with Biden or not, the guy, and whether he's done right things, wrong things, whatever, we're all human, he doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve the treatment of being propped up. Now, I am not talking about the accusations that Tara Reade's leveling. That needs to be investigated because like I said, there's corroborating evidence that Biden, and look, Biden has a history of let's just say inappropriately getting close, inappropriately touching, inappropriately smelling hair of a lot of women. So he doesn't have the best track record. Now, does that mean he abused Tara Reade? No. But is there evidence pointing to that? Yes. Does an investigation need to happen? Yes. Do we need to follow the same standard as they held Kavanaugh to? Yes. And then let's get to the bottom of this. It should not be swept under the rug just because he's a Democrat. And folks, I'm telling you, I think the reason why the Democrats wanted Biden to be the nominee is because they wanted to pick the person they wanted to lose with. You lose with Biden, you don't really hurt the party. You lose with a young up-and-comer, and then you can damage the party. So, this is why I think they wanted Biden to be the nominee. But now, with the virus hitting and the economy being tanked, and you've got blue states now that are trying to prolong the pain. They don't want to open their states because they want to cause more economic pain. I think they're doing this. Now they think they can win in 2020 because they think the only card that Trump has is the economy. And they think without that they might win. So now they're going, we've got to put somebody else up there than Biden. All right, folks, we're going to go to a break here and we'll be right back. This is On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
If your health insurance premium is more than your mortgage, Ellen Deal with Ideal Solutions is here to help. Whether you're a small business owner, individual, family, or baby boomer, email maga45cag@gmail.com and I'll respond with 3 easy questions to help you determine if you can get away from Obamacare. As a 20-year veteran of the insurance industry, I'm here to help with all your insurance needs. Email Ellen Deal at maga45cag@gmail.com.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, you need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Ronaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
This is America's Web Radio. Would you like to have a show, talk about your business, or express your opinion on America's Web Radio. Just email gm@americaswebradio.com and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
And we're back. Welcome, folks. I want to take a second here, folks. There's a special someone out there who has having a birthday today. I believe today they're turning the ripe old of 9 years old. And it just so happens that his parents are avid listeners to On Point with Victor. So I want to take a moment and say a very, very special Feliz cumpleaños, happy birthday to Logan Holbrook. Logan, I know you're out there doing your schoolwork, so happy birthday. Now get back to your schoolwork. Make sure you do well. I know your parents are teaching you the right things. So, all right, folks. But thanks again. Thanks for those people, for that family for listening. And Logan, man, I tell you, I'm going to have to come by and see you because lucky for you, you're in Atlanta. And so am I. So, no. All right. And I'll bring something, Logan. I don't know what, but Logan, get your father to text me what gifts you're looking for, and I'll see what I can do.
Wear a mask so you won't scare.
Yeah, I should probably wear a mask. I might have to do that. I'm going to find a good one to wear. Maybe a MAGA mask. So, all right, folks, I want to so that's about all I'm going to say about Biden is, look, you've got to have the same standard that we had against Kavanaugh. There needs to be an investigation, and don't be surprised if the Democrat Party finds a way to get Biden off this ticket and they try and put somebody in like Cuomo. Don't think that Hillary isn't going to try and ride in on her white horse. Folks, I'm telling you, this is going to be fun. The next few months are going to be crazy. The Democrat Party is going to eat themselves alive. It's going to be amusing to watch. And all the while, I think Trump is going to be kicking butt, getting this economy back. We, the American people, are ready to get out. We're ready to stand together. And look, those of you who don't want to stand with us, stay at home. It's your freedom to stay at home. So,
and what do we say?
We say when the going gets tough, Americans get going. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what's happening now, folks. Look, if you live in Michigan, I'm sorry. If you live in Chicago, I'm sorry. If you live in Jersey, sorry. New York, sorry. Because the rest of us are going to get up and move. We're going to go. We're not going to live our lives in fear, and we will not bow to tyranny from any government official. I don't care if they have a D or an R by their name. We will not submit to tyranny. It is not the American way.
If you live in Pep, Texas, get off my farm.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, don't mess with David's oil. So, all right. So I do want to touch on something else here before we end. I look, folks. This past weekend, I was so happy to be here in Atlanta, Georgia, because the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds came roaring through. And they came roaring through. It's almost as if they said, we're going to put the studios of America's Web Radio right into the flight path. Because America's Web Radio studios, folks, we're right here in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And the flight path, where we got to see two passes, not one, but we got to see two passes from the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds. We got to see them twice right over Sandy Springs. So on Saturday, I put together a little motorcycle ride. I participated in a motorcycle ride. We called it the Freedom Ride. And it was great. And to all of you guys out there who are now part, I can't say it on the air, but it's the word for dogs. There's a group out there, and we dubbed the group this name, Cycling, other name for dogs. We named that group Saturday. So it's a group of guys, we all and women. We all went on this freedom ride, and I salute all of you guys that were at the ride. And we rode up, and the first thing we did, the first stop we made was to watch the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds. And folks, if you've never seen the Blue Angels and you've never seen the Thunderbirds, the next time they come to your city, go see them. It is one of the most patriotic American things to experience. And I hope you got to see one of the flyovers. I mean, they flew over Washington, they flew over Atlanta, Georgia, and they flew over some other cities. I hope you got to see them. If you didn't, please look up YouTube. Look up the footage. Lots and lots of people posted footage of the flyovers. Look up and see it. Because, folks, I don't think we will ever see the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds fly together again. This was the first time they've ever flown together. They will do separate shows, but they've never flown together. And I don't think they'll ever fly together again, folks. And let's hope we don't have another pandemic to bring them out together. But it was an amazing sight to see. David?
Yeah, I was just going to add to this. My family and I, when I had one, we were very, very fortunate in that we were in Pensacola at the right time and at the right place. And my son, who's in the Air Force, loved planes, loved flying, anything that flew. And we were there when the Blue Angels were practicing before their season started. And, it was just, there was no general admission. You just drove up and sat in the bleachers.
Wow.
And they were absolutely, they put on the show, they practiced the shows that they're going to be out on the air or on the road doing,
the air.
Right. I don't know, I think they fly between the first of the summer and through
usually
October,
through right through the fall.
Yeah, and they were absolutely fantastic. But
No, they're
more
amazing.
important than that was all of them. Every Blue Angel member of the team, and Big Bertha and the rest. That's a C-130.
Big Bertha's a C-130. Yes. Yeah.
And so my son, or we had bought my son because he loved flying, and at that point had been admitted to the Air Force Academy, but wound up going to the Air Force, but he went to Texas A&M instead. And
Good place.
He had bought a picture of the Blue Angels, and they all came over, saluted him, and autographed the picture of them by their planes. Number one, number two, number one. And
right.
we still got it. It's hanging in my house, as a matter of fact. And as soon as my son gets his house shortly, and outside of he's moving back to the States after being in 3 years in Germany. Now he'll be 3 years in the States.
That picture will have to go to his house.
Oh, absolutely. But if you get a chance, and I can't remember exactly the dates, you'll just have to check on when the Blue Angels are practicing, but it will live with you.
Oh, you'll never forget it.
Oh, no.
The first time I saw him, I was a wee little tot. But you'll never, ever forget it. And again, like I said, it's one of the most patriotic American things you can do. If you can stand there and watch that flyover and not get chills for being an American, then maybe you're not an American.
That's right.
It's amazing. Like I said, I saw them as a little kid, and then growing up, I always wanted to see them. And then I went and saw the Thunderbirds, and in fact, it made such an impression on me that I tried to join the Navy when I got out of high school and going into college because I wanted to be an aviator. And when I went to join, unfortunately, I had a heart murmur, pretty serious thing at the time, and I wasn't able to do it. So, but I tell you what, it's an amazing thing to see. And if you're one of the snowflakes out there, or if you're one of the socialist Democrats out there, and your response to the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds, if your response is that's a wasted taxpayer money, then you know what? I'm willing to have that discussion with you as soon as you can sit down with me and we can go over all the other government ridiculous programs and ridiculous government spending. Before you knock something patriotic, before you knock something that these men train for and women train for, these men and women who defend this country, which is the number one duty per the Constitution of the President of the United States, is to defend the sovereignty of this nation. Don't knock this military and these men and women who fly these jets until you can sit down with me and discuss the other trillions of government waste. We'll have that discussion. I'm not afraid to have it.
Let me clarify something. It's not waste at all.
Exactly.
Because to keep current, you have to. And every pilot, I was a general aviation pilot, and every pilot you have to keep a log.
Absolutely.
And I don't care if you're a Blue Angel or a Purple Duck. You still have to keep a log, and you have to keep current.
Just as anything, training. And if for you snowflakes out there who think that our military sits around and as you put it, waste dollars, how in the heck do you think they're supposed to be prepared for the dangers that are out there? And if you haven't sat in the office of the presidency, or if you haven't sat in the Pentagon, then you don't know 90% of the threats that we face as a country. And again, I'm not mad, I'm just right. But it really chaps my derriere when you snowflakes sit out there and you want to knock the military every chance you get. Look, folks, we are going through a pandemic. 30 million people have lost their jobs, but yet people found it in themselves to get to a place to stand at attention and watch and enjoy this flyover of the Blue Angels and Thunderbirds. For a moment, they were able to escape the hysteria that is the virus, to escape the fact that they're having to stay in their homes, to escape the fact that they can't find toilet paper, and now they can't find a piece of beef. They were able to escape for a moment and stand and remember that they're living in the greatest nation on God's green earth. And they were able to salute and watch the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds, who represent everything this country stands for, and that flyover. And if you have a problem with that, then maybe you need to reassess your Americanism. Yeah, I said it. So,
okay,
David, you're looking at me.
Two other things. One is, if you live in the Atlanta area, you can go and see the Air Force.
Yep.
They're generally at Dobbins. Once a year.
And Marietta.
And you can see the Thunderbirds. And it is quite unfortunately, you don't get to be quite as close as we did with the Blue Angels in Pensacola, but it's still a heck of a show. The other good news is, as soon as the restaurants really open up, particularly, all over the country.
In the red states especially.
Yeah. There will be a new cowboy in town, a new cow in town, actually. Not new, in fact, very old. But we are raising them in Texas now, called Wagyu. And if you've ever had
Not to be confused with Wuhan.
No, Wagyu. It's Japanese, not Chinese.
Not Chinese.
But, look it up. Go to your telephone, go to Google's, and just say Wagyu, and you'll find that it's all over the place. The best beef you've ever tasted.
Ever. It is good. I've had it.
It is. We'll be bringing them in from Texas very shortly, and. And
that's a great thing, because I've had a Wagyu steak and I've had a Wagyu burgers, and David, that's thrilling. Leave it up to Texas. That is awesome.
Yeah, we'll be bringing that in probably within the next month or less.
Awesome.
And particularly once some of the restaurants are able to open up. We'll have the Wagyu steak.
Wagyu steaks. That's awesome. We'll be on the lookout for that, folks. And now listen, folks, we're coming up to the end of the show here, but stay tuned, because coming up next is Locked and Loaded, and yours truly will be hosting Locked and Loaded today, because Roger B is going to be out. So stay tuned from 3 to 4 if you want to hear more of my madness. So I've got a great story coming up for Locked and Loaded. So it's going to be good, and stay tuned and listen to that, folks. This has been great. We'll have more next week. I'm going to talk about Flynn next week. We'll talk more about this Biden situation. So you tune in next week. But stay tuned. Locked and Loaded with me is coming up next.
And the owner.
And with some help from Legend Dave.
Happy holidays.